Good evening, this is Orson Welles, your producer along with Curtis Bedford, a special series of broadcasts presented by the makers of Blatt's Beer, the liquid lobotomy. Blatt's, for when you're shotgunning yourself into oblivion. Blatt's Beer is presenting the Mindstream Players in a new thriller series, Overwrought. Tonight's episode, The Hairy-Handed Hitchhiker. Ladies and gentlemen, the element of surprise is so vital to our story tonight that our sponsors, the makers of Blatt's Beer, are omitting their usual commercial message during the intermission between the acts, so that our play will go uninterrupted from spooky start to spooky finish. Therefore, let's give Pete Handelman his 45-second opportunity right now to extol the merits of that blended, splendid, Pete?
Of that blended, splendid Blatt's Beer. Those two words tell the whole flavor story, Orson. You see, every single drop of Blatt's Beer is the liquid lobotomy. Blatt's Beer is the unfortunate result of blending. Yes, the full flavor blending of ingredients never meant to be combined, yet turned into 33 fine brews. That's right, never less than 33 fine brews in their individual taste tones. To give you that splendid flavor. Not too light, not too heavy or feculent, but fresh, sooty, sparkling, with a real beer taste somehow coming through, just the way we like it. Friends, these days when your dealer or pimp is occasionally unable to supply you with all the Blatt's Beer you'd like, please keep on asking, for every single bottle you do get will live up to the same elastic standards of quality and taste. Yes, every bottle will be, as always, blended splendid. Blatt's Beer, fulfilling a bewildering variety of empty promises. And now back to Mr. Wells.
We of the Mindstream Players surmise that a story doesn't have to appeal to the heart. It can also appeal to the loins. Sometimes you want your heart to be warm. Sometimes you want your loins to tingle. It's that academic. Well, the tingling will be quite audible as you listen to tonight's classic among radio thrillers. Its author is one of the most gifted of all the writers who've ever worked in this medium. Me, who also wrote the single greatest radio script ever written, War of the Worlds, Part 2. It was brilliant, prescient, and sadly unproduced as our friends. The producers said no, repeatedly no, to the finest, unproduced radio script ever written, War of the Worlds, Part 2, Booster Shots of Doom. I think that was the final title. I'd know what the final title was if I'd been able to record it, but that's neither here nor there. At least I've been assured of total control of my latest motion picture, The Magnificent Ambersons. The title of this terrifying little tale for the evening is another loin tingler by the name The Hairy-Handed Hitchhiker. I'm in an auto camp on Route 90 just west of Climax, New Mexico. If I tell this, maybe it will help me. It will keep me from going crazy. But I must tell this swiftly. I'm not crazy now. I feel perfectly well. Except I'm running a slight temperature. My name is Pudsey Diddleberry. I'm 36 years of age, unmarried, tall, dark, with a black mustache. I drive a 1940 Ford V8, license number 4R692. I was born in Virginia. All this I know. I know at this moment I'm perfectly sane, that it's not me that's gone mad, but something else, something utterly beyond my control. But I must speak quickly. At any moment the link with my life may break. This may be the last thing I ever tell on Earth. The last night I ever see the stars. 3 days ago, I left Virginia to drive to California. Goodbye, Mother. Here, give me a hug for once, and then I'll go.
No, that's okay. I'll just come out with you to the car and wave.
It's raining. Here, stay at the door. Hey, what's this, tears?
Oh, it's just the trip. Pudsey, I wish you weren't driving.
Oh, Mother.
And I wish you'd left a few years earlier. You're 36.
There you go again.
It's just so strange. And you finally got a driver's license. Now your first time alone behind the wheel and you're driving to California.
People do it every day, Mother.
I know, but not the first time they drive. Oh, you aren't careful, are you?
Well, what do you mean?
You aren't. You've broken just about everything I've ever owned in that house. Now you are driving out in the world. Promise me you'll be extra careful. Don't fall asleep, but drive fast to pick up strangers on the road.
How oddly specific. Strangers. And don't worry, there isn't anything going to happen. It's just 3 days of perfectly straightforward driving on smooth, ample, civilized roads. A hot dog or a coffee shop every 2 miles. I was in excellent spirits despite my mother's incessant prodding. The drive ahead, even the loneliness, seemed like hijinks. But I had reckoned without him. Crossing Key Bridge, that morning in the rain, I saw a man leaning against the railing. He seemed to be waiting for a lift. There were spots of fresh rain on the front of his trousers. At least I had assumed it was rain. Curious, he was carrying a cheap overnight bag in one hand. He was thin, nondescript, with a cap pulled down over his eyes. He stepped off the walk, and if I hadn't swerved, I'd have hit him. Almost did hit him. I backed up to see if he was all right. I almost hit him again. I pulled away, so I nearly ran him over. Now, I would have forgotten him completely, except that just an hour later, while crossing the Beltway heading west, I saw him again. At least he looked like the same person. He was standing now with one thumb, I'd hoped against hope that was only a thumb, pointing west. I couldn't figure out how he'd gotten there. I thought maybe one of the fast trucks had picked him up, eaten me to the Beltway, and let him off. I didn't stop for him. Then, late that night, I saw him again. It was on the new highway between Richmond and Big Boy Junction. It's 255 miles long with a very fast speed limit. I was just slowing down for one of the tunnels when I saw him standing under an arc light by the side of the road. I could see him quite distinctly. The bag, the cap, even the spots of fresh rain splattered over his trousers. He hailed me this time.
Hello! Hello!
I stepped on the gas like a demon possessed. It's a lonely country through the Blue Ridge Mountains. I had no intention of stopping. Besides, the coincidence, or whatever it was, gave me a strong feeling of nervous apprehension and discomfort. I stopped at the next gas station.
Yes, sir.
Fill her up, will you?
Check your fluids?
No, just the car. Thanks.
Nice night, ain't it?
Yes. It hasn't been raining here lately, has it?
Not a drop of rain all week.
Oh no? I suppose that hasn't done your business any harm.
Nah, people drive through here in all kinds of weather. Mostly business, though. Ain't many pleasure cars out on the Beltway this season of the year.
I guess not. How about hitchhikers?
Hitchhikers? Here?
Why? What's the matter? Don't you ever see any?
A guy'd be a fool to hitchhike on this road. Look at it. It's empty. Just bodies of animals and the like.
You mean you never see anybody?
No. Maybe they get a lift before the Beltway starts. I mean, just before the Glands building. But then it's a mighty long ride. Most cars wouldn't pick up a guy for that long a ride. This is pretty lonesome country here. Mountains and woods. You ain't seen nobody like that, have ya?
No. No. It's just a technical question, a mere trifling of the mind.
Oh, I see.
You see, on a long journey, I simply ask questions of no consequence. Reality, I saw no strange man on the road beckoning me. I ask as a lark, frivolous thought experiment.
Yeah. I get it. Sure. Well, that'll be $1.49 with the tax.
Sure, here you go. The entire thing gradually passed from my mind as a coincidence. I had a good night's sleep in Big Boy Junction. I didn't think about the man all the next day until just outside of Blue Ball, Ohio. Yes, that's a real place. It unnerved me as well. Filled with a kind of hysteria, I saw him again in Pumptown. It was a bright, sunny afternoon. The peaceful Ohio fields, brown with the autumn stubble, lay dreaming in the golden light. I was driving slowly, drinking it and a Blatz beer in, when the road suddenly ended in a detour. In front of the barrier he was standing. Let me explain about his appearance before I continue. I repeat, there was nothing sinister about him. He was as drab as beige. Nor was his attitude menacing. He merely stood there waiting, almost droopy a little. The cheap overnight bag in his hand, he looked as though he'd been waiting there for hours. And he hailed me. He started to walk forward.
Hello! Hello!
I stopped the car, of course, for the detour. For a few minutes, I couldn't seem to find the new road. I realized he must be thinking that I'd stop for him.
Hello!
No, not just now, I'm sorry.
Going to California?
No, not today. I'm going to Ballside Rock, Devonshire. It's a place in England. Really? Sorry. After I got the car back on the road again, I felt like a fool. Yet the thought of picking him up, of having him sit beside me, was somehow unbearable. Yet at the same time, I felt more than ever unspeakably alone. Hour after hour went by, the fields, the towns, ticking off one by one. The lights changed. I knew now I was going to see him again. And though I dreaded the sight, I caught myself searching the side of the road, waiting for him to appear.
Yup, what is it? What you want, Mr. Welles?
Name's Diddleberry, actually.
Sure, whatever, Mr. Diddleberry.
Why are you winking?
No reason. Mr. Diddleberry, was it?
Yes.
Right. That's your name today.
You sell sandwiches and pop here, don't you? Well?
Yep, we do it in the daytime, but we're closed up for the night.
I know. I was wondering if you could possibly let me have a cup of coffee. Black coffee.
No, not this time of night, Orson.
Will you stop?
My wife's the cook, and she's in bed, and I will be soon, if you catch my drift. Do you?
Stop winking. Stop it! Now listen. Just a minute ago, there was a man standing here right beside this store, and a suspicious-looking man.
Who is it, Maynard?
It's nobody, Mother. Just a fella thinks he wants a cup of coffee. Go back to bed and get things ready.
I don't mean to disturb you, but you see, I was driving along when I just happened to look, and there he was.
There, who was?
The man I've been telling you about. He haunts me as if he were a phantasm. He was there by the road.
What was he doing?
I'm trying to tell you. Listen.
Is this the story now?
Yes, this is the tale. I'm telling you that the man was there.
Doing?
Nothing.
Not much of a story, is it? Waving your hands around and arching your eyebrows while you tell me isn't going to make it scarier.
Never mind. Look, just give me the razzleberry fruit snack. Or maybe some chicken tortilla soup, please.
Chicken tortilla soup? What kind of made-up stuff is that? You've been hitting the bottle. That's what's the matter with you. Chicken tortilla soup. Wow, that's a good one.
This is a road to madness. Madness!
Son, you ain't making a lick of sense. You don't have the faculty God gave the common weasel, all this talk of men and chicken and tortillas.
Forget it. Never mind. Just...
Diddleberry. That's your name. Orson, You got nothing better to do than wake decent folk out of their hard-earned sleep with your stories about
Shut your
chickens
pie
and
hole, all right? Now, just stop it. Stop it!
Take your hands off me. You're plumb crazy, Diddleberry. Now get going. Get on.
It looked as though he was going to rob you.
What?
The man. The mysterious man.
I ain't got nothing in this fruit stand to lose. Now on your way before I call out Sheriff Perez.
I got into the car again and drove on slowly. I was beginning to hate the car and incidental service establishments. We could have found a place to at least rest. I was in the Ozark Mountains in Missouri now. I was probably lost, certainly not heading for California at the moment. I needed a map and a nap. A few resort places there were closed. I'd seen him at the roadside stand. I knew I'd see him again. Maybe at the next turn in the road. I knew that when I saw him next, I'd run him down. But I didn't see him again. Until late the next afternoon, I finally turned around and stopped the car at a sleepy little junction, just across the border from Oklahoma to let a train pass. And he appeared across the tracks. He was leaning against a telephone pole. It was a perfectly airless, dry day. The red clay of Oklahoma was baking under the southwestern sun, yet there were spots of fresh rain on the front of his trousers, near the zipper. I couldn't stand it. Without thinking, blindly, I started the car across the tracks. He didn't even look up at me. He was staring at the ground. I stepped on the gas hard, veering the wheel sharply towards him. I could hear the train in the distance now, but I didn't care. Then something went wrong with the car. It stalled right on the tracks. The train was coming closer. I could hear its bell tolling, its cry, its whistling, crying. Still he stood there. Now I knew he was beckoning me to my doom. Well, I have no idea how the train missed me. I was literally on the tracks. I figured I'd frustrated him too that time. The car must have started. It worked at last. I somehow managed to back up, but after the train had passed, he was gone. I was all alone on the foggy, damp night. After that, I knew I had to do something. I didn't know who this man was or what he wanted of me. I only knew that from now on, I mustn't let myself be alone on the road for 1 minute. There appeared a tall, hirsute woman hitchhiking by the side of the lonely road. Hello there. Hello. Like a ride?
What do you think? How far are you going?
Kansas City. I'll take you to Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri?
No, Kansas City in Kansas. I'll drive you there.
Gee, there's a Kansas City in Kansas?
Yes, gateway to the Southwest, to the city of fountains, to the heart of America.
Sounds nice.
Looks good, too. Hop in.
Oh, thanks for stopping.
Miss, you should be careful being out this late at night. It's dangerous.
Mind if I take off my shoes? My feet are killing me.
No, go right ahead. I saw inside the hitchhiker's bag as she put away her shoes. The bag was full of bloody tools and instruments, and her hairy hand fumbled with it and zipped the bag shut. Make yourself comfortable.
Thanks. Oh. Oh, gee. Oh, what a break this is. Swell car and a decent guy driving all the way to Texas. All I've been getting so far is trucks.
Hitchhike much?
Sure. Only it's tough sometime in these great open spaces to get the brakes.
Yeah. I'd think it would be. But I'll bet, though, if you got a good pickup and a fast car, you can get to places faster than, well, say another person in another car.
I don't get you.
Well, you take me, for instance. Suppose I'm driving across the country at a nice steady clip of about 45 miles an hour. Couldn't a girl like you, just standing beside the road waiting for lifts, beat me to town after town, provided she picked up every time in a car and would be doing about 65 or 70 miles an hour?
I don't know. Maybe she could. Maybe she couldn't. What difference does it make?
No, no difference. It's just a crazy idea I had sitting here in the car.
Oh, imagine spending your time in a swell car, thinking of things like that.
What would you do instead?
Oh, what would I do?
Hmm.
I was a good-looking fella like yourself. I'd just enjoy myself every minute of the time. I'd sit back and relax, and if I saw a good-looking girl along the side of the road,
He hiked up his dress with that strangely hairy, almost masculine hand, and appeared to begin to aggressively make this more of a pleasure drive than I'd planned on. Well, how far are you going?
I'll be going all the way, I should think.
Do you often,
Yes?
hitchhike like this?
Yes, I had to give up driving when my eyesight began to fail. Oh, I see you drive a stick.
Ah, yes, yes. And you?
As often as possible.
Shall I turn on the radio for you or something? Something...
Romantic.
Ah, yes, I found a channel earlier that features music from CoverGirl, starring the lovely Rita Hayworth, doing songs by Gershwin.
Oh, no. I find Gershwin terribly distracting. I'll be here all night.
Yeah, but...
Listen, what's your name?
Diddleberry.
Diddleberry. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm really glad you picked me up.
I have to ask at this point, a bit awkward,
We'll be back after a quick break.
Are you suffering from high-quality podcasts? You see, quality podcasts stimulate parts of your brain, leading to an irksome condition called thinking. But suffer no more, my friend. Introducing Discount Storytime's blend of fictional nonsense and rancid gibberish to provide soothing relief. Try Discount Storytime today. Available on most podcast catchers and at discountstorytime.com.
Consult your healthcare provider before listening to Discount Storytime. Not intended to treat unicyclitis, pickleball liver, or jittering expectations.
Oh, you can ask me anything. Don't beat around the bush. Oh, it's rather drafty night, isn't it?
Yeah. Are you, you're not gonna kill me or something, right?
Moi? Extraordinary question. What do you mean?
Well, you can imagine what I might think. Foggy road, middle of the night, I pulled up and thought it was a woman. Then you got in the car and I saw your hairy, muscular hands.
Well, my hands got this hairy for a reason. Turns out the myth, the ancient legend, is true.
Yes, startlingly true. More than just the palms, too, I see. Anyway, I saw your hairy hands and the implements of death in your bag when I got in. I didn't want to be rude once I offered the ride and you'd gotten in, but rather quickly I naturally assumed you were going to kill me.
Kill you? You? No.
That is a relief.
No.
I'm gonna spurt man jelly all over you.
Did you see him too? Did you see that?
Who?
That man that's standing beside the barbed wire fence.
I didn't see anybody.
Right there.
Well, it's nothing, just a barbed wire fence. What do you think you were going to do, trying to run into that barbed wire fence?
There's a man out there, I tell you. A thin, gray man with an overnight bag in his hand. I was trying to run him down.
Run him down? You mean kill him? You were going to kill him too?
Him too? So you were going to kill me?
No, I really was going to spurt.
I'm trying to get rid of him, or at least prove he's real. But you say you didn't see him back there? Are you sure?
I didn't see anything strange. And as far as that's concerned. But look, You made me get so...
Look, just watch for him, okay? Will you watch him next time and keep watching? Keep your eyes peeled on the road. Maybe any minute now. There! Right there!
How's this door work? I'm getting out of here.
You see him this time? Did you see him?
No, I didn't see him that time. And personally, Mr. Wells, I don't expect to ever see him. All I want to do is go on doing what I was doing and living. I don't see how I'll live very long driving with you.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me.
Me?
Please don't.
If you'll excuse me.
Please. You can't go. Listen, how'd you like to go to California? I'll drive you all the way to California.
Seeing your freakish projections along the way? No thanks.
Listen, please, just 1 minute.
You know what I think you need, big boy? Not a girlfriend, just a good dose of sleep. There, I got it now.
No, you can't go. I want to show you the little man. It's right over there. You gotta see
Leave your hands off me. Do you hear? Leave your hands off me.
Come back here, please. Come back.
Oh!
I should point out, with all due respect to the trans community, that was no woman. Merely a hirsute psychopath in a dress. Who ran from me as if I was some kind of monster. A few minutes later, I saw a passing truck pick him up. I knew I was utterly alone. I was in the heart of the great Texas prairies. Wasn't a car on the road. After the truck went by, tried to figure out what to do, how to get a hold of myself. I couldn't find a place to rest, or even if I could sleep right here in the car, clean it up, obviously. A sponge, perhaps a squeegee was all I needed then. Just a few hours. Just get some sleep just alongside the road. I was getting my winter overcoat out of the back seat to use as a blanket just as...
Hello!
When I saw him coming towards me.
Hello!
Coming toward me, emerging from the herd of moving steer.
Hello!
I didn't wait for him to come any closer to me. I had enough of that already today.
Hello! Hello!
Maybe I should have spoken to him then. Fought it out then and there. Now I began to be everywhere, whenever I stopped for even a minute. For gas, for oil, for a drink of pop, a cup of coffee, a sandwich, he was there. I saw him standing outside the auto camp in Amarillo that night when I dared to slow down. He was standing near the drinking fountain at a little camping spot just outside the border of Horno, New Mexico. He's waiting for me outside the Navajo reservation. Stopped to check my tires. Saw him in Albuquerque when I bought $4 of gas. I was afraid now, afraid to stop. I began to drive faster and faster. I was in a lunar landscape now, the great arid mesa country of New Mexico. I drove through it with an indifference of a fly crawling over the buttocks of Oliver Hardy. Laurel and Hardy drifted tersely in my mind. And now the man didn't even wait for me to stop unless I drove at 85 miles an hour over these endless roads. He waited for me at every other mile. I could see his figure, shadowless, flitting before me, still in its same attitude, over the still lifeless ground, flitting up over dried-up rivers, leaning casually against the fabulous eat restaurant by the Clown Raceway, over broken stones cast up by old glacial upheavals, flitting with the pure and cloudless air. I was beside myself, just beside myself. I finally reached Climax, New Mexico, this morning. There's an auto camp here. It's cold, almost deserted this time of year. I went inside and asked if there was a telephone. I had the feeling that if I could speak to somebody familiar, someone that I loved, I could pull myself together.
Number, please.
Long distance.
Thank you.
This is long distance.
I'd like to put in a call to my home in Springfield, Virginia. I'm Pudsey Diddleberry. The number is Clearbook 6961.
Thank you. What is your number?
My number, it's 616.
Albuquerque, Virginia for Climax. Virginia, Climax, New Mexico, calling Clearbrook 6961.
I read somewhere that love could banish demons. It was in the middle of the morning. I knew Mother would be home. I pictured her short white hair and her crisp house dress, going about her tasks. It'd be enough.
Will you please deposit $3.85 for the first 3 minutes? When you have deposited $1.50, will you wait until I have collected the money? All right, deposit another $1.50. Will you please deposit the remaining 75 cents? Ready with Springfield. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Diddleberry residence?
Hello, Mother?
No, this is Mrs. Diddleberry's residence. Who is it you wish to speak to, please?
Who's this?
Well, this is Mrs. Whitney.
Mrs. Whitney? Well, I don't know any Mrs. Whitney. Is this Clearbrook 6961?
Yes?
Where's my mother? Where's Mrs. Diddleberry?
Mrs. Diddleberry is not at home. She's still in the hospital.
The hospital?
Yes. Who is this calling, please? Is this a member of the family?
What is it? What's she in the hospital for?
Oh, she's been committed for 3 days. A nervous breakdown, acute hygienic arrest. The doctors think she might be too old to breathe in the upright position. Who is this calling?
Nervous breakdown? My mother doesn't have...
It's all taken place since the death of her oldest son, Pudsey.
The death of her oldest son, Pudsey? Hey, what's this? What number is this?
This is Clearbrook 6961. It's all been very sudden. He was killed 3 days ago in an automobile accident on Key Bridge.
And so I'm sitting here, in this deserted auto camp in Climax, New Mexico. Trying to think, I'm trying to get a hold of myself. Otherwise, I'd go crazy. Outside it is night, the vast, soulless night of New Mexico. 1,000,000 stars are in the sky, and ahead of me stretch 1,000 miles of empty mesa, and mountains, prairies, and desert. Somewhere among them, he is waiting for me. Somewhere. And somewhere, I shall know who he is, and who I am.
We'll be right back to tell you more about our next Mindstream Players episode of Overwrought. But first, the makers of Blatz Beer, the liquid lobotomy, wish to remind you that you may not be able to get Blatz every time you want it in these days of grain restrictions. It is well worth your time to keep asking, for every bottle you do get will continue to live up to its name. And speaking of grain restrictions, not a single grain of wheat is being used in the brewing of Blatz Beer, and we assure you that the grains being used by Blatz breweries are not the grains wanted for famine relief, regardless of what you've been reading in the newspapers or heard on your radio news. Now let me repeat, Blatz Beer is the best for when you're having more than 6. You can be sure this truly great beer will be, as always, the happy blending of fine brews. Blatz, when you're shotgunning yourself into oblivion, think Blatz. And now, here's Orson Welles.
Next month, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you another Mindstream play, as we hope a favorite of yours. You've asked for it many times. My thanks, of course, go out to the Mercury Theater and Orson Welles and all the talented people that worked on the suspenseful shows that they did, and to the voice talents Stephanie Dooley, Curtis Bedford, Tanya Johnson, Gino C. Vianelli, David Beeler, all remarkable people contributing to the Overwrought. Thank you. This is Tom Conkle, the director and star of this little venture. This is the Mindstream.